again, boys and girls. Miss Janie here. Yesterday, we talked in our lesson and said today we're going to find out what Judas did with Jesus. Now, Jesus, right after they ate the Passover feast, Jesus got the disciples and he said, "Come on, come with me. We're going to go to the garden. We're going to pray in the garden. I need to talk to my Father." And so he gathered all the disciples. They walked through the streets of the city, and they went to a little hill that was called the Mount of Olives. There was a beautiful garden there with flowers and trees, and Jesus loved to go there and sometimes just get alone with his Father. And he told the disciples, he said, "Now, if you'll stay here, I'm going to go a little bit over here where I can be alone and talk to God about what's going to happen." Because Jesus always talked to his Father about what was going on with him. Now, if you have problems at school or with someone that's maybe not being nice to you, or maybe you're not being nice to someone, do you talk to somebody about it? Well, Jesus did. Jesus always knew that he could go to his Father and talk to him. So Jesus told the disciples, he said, "Now, fellas, if you'll just stay here, and while I'm talking to my Father, if you'll just pray." So Jesus went on over in the garden, and he got on his knees. And you know what he did? He talked to God about the fact that Jesus was going to the cross. And you know what Jesus said? Jesus said, "Father, if there's any other way we can do this, could we do something else?" But Jesus knew that there was only one way. We talked before, the Bible says in the book of Hebrews, without the shedding of blood, there's no remission of sin. Without the shedding of blood. We talked the other day with, you remember our wordless book? I love that book. No pictures, no words, but great story. Without Jesus' blood, our heart can't be cleansed. And so Jesus knew that. So Jesus just spent the longest time in prayer with his Father. Well, he prayed and he prayed, and then he got up and went back to where the disciples were. Lo and behold, the disciples were sleeping. Peter, James, and John asleep on a rock. And Jesus said, "Fellas, couldn't you stay awake? Couldn't you pray with me just for a little while?" "Oh, yes, Lord. Yes, we will. We will." So Jesus went back and got on his knees again, and he prayed some more. In a little while, he went back, and there they were, asleep on the rock. Parents, did you ever give your children something to do, and when you came back an hour later or a little bit later, there it was, still undone? That sometimes happens to us, doesn't it? We get caught up in so many things, we forget to do the most important things that we're supposed to do. But you know what? Jesus, even those disciples, even though they couldn't stay awake, Jesus loved them just the same. And he said, "Fellas, you better get up, for my time's at hand. My time is at hand." And they got up, and they were all there again, waiting to see what Jesus was going to do now. And all at once, they heard the awfulest noise, thundering footsteps, and voices coming from everywhere. And all at once, here was a Roman soldier. There was a soldier. And with him a crowd of people. And with that soldier walked Judas. And Judas had already been to the priest in the city and told him that he said, I'll sell you, Jesus. What about that? I will sell you, Jesus. Oh my goodness. Isn't that sad? Remember, Judas had been with Jesus for 3.5 years. Judas had heard Jesus talk about how the love of God, a heavenly home, and yet Judas said, I'll sell you, Jesus. And so he sold him for 30 pieces of silver, took the soldier right to the garden where Jesus was. And Judas said, the one that I kiss his cheek, that's who you get. Well, fellas, you know, there's Peter. Peter always gets so upset. Peter raised his sword and he chopped off that soldier's ear. I could just hear Peter, you're not taking Jesus. You're not taking Jesus. I'll fix you. And whack. But Jesus said, no, Peter, don't do that. And you know what? Jesus reached over and touched that soldier's ear and healed it. Now this was the man that came to take Jesus to be tried. But Jesus said, I love you. I love you. Even though you're doing this to me, I love you. Oh my. So this is what Judas did with Jesus. Judas betrayed Jesus. How sad. How sad. So now, they're taking Jesus away out of the garden. Where are they taking him? Well, if you'll come back next time, we'll find out where they're taking Jesus. Have a good day, boys and girls.